Here is what's left of a Holmes. I think this was considered an 8-inch box fan. The guard opening is 10, but the blade itself is only about 8 or 7. We're getting towards the end of the fans that Tori gave me at the meet this year. This is one of them, and I think there is one more that I still have to film. So this was another Holmes disaster. This is a terrible product. I'm only keeping this because Tori gave it to me. Otherwise, this is probably not something I would buy. This one is in absolutely terrible condition, and that's why we say what's left of, because this is deteriorating like crazy. This is super heavily sun damaged. And I guess this must have spent the majority of its life in a window, because the front, where it would have faced the inside, is pretty much fine, and then the back is just totally spoiled. Here's the informations. Of course, they're so small, it's barely readable. Holmes Products Corporation, electric fan, 10 inches, 0.8 amps, made in China, serviced in USA. Well, it will be serviced in USA. I don't really believe that it was prior to my servicing of it or Tori's servicing of it. Model HABF-110, which I believe stands for Holmes Air Box Fan. I'm not sure what the 110 is. One 10-inch fan. So they're passing this off as a 10-inch fan, and that's really a stretch, because I don't think anything about this is actually 10 inches. Side to side, it's like 10.5. The blade, I'd say, is about, that's 1, 2, 3, 4 in 1, 2, 3, 4. It's about a 7-inch blade, which is a far cry from a 10-inch. And I say this is a terrible product because you really could have fit like an 8.5-inch blade in there, or even a 9-inch blade. You could probably go an inch longer on each side, on each blade, and it still would have fit just fine and moved plenty more air. If I hadn't seen many of these, I would almost say that the blade is the wrong one. It's just ridiculous. And this guard is, the slats are so thick and dense, and they're all plasticky. It's a circular pattern, so at least it's got that going in terms of the aerodynamics, but that guard is going to block so much air, paired with the blade being way too small anyways. I don't know what Holmes was thinking during this era. Oh, half the feet are missing. They're foam. A lot of the Holmes fans during the 2000s, even in the 90s, they were just not very well made. A lot of them were very loud, very poor air movement, terrible aerodynamics design. I always used to feel like Holmes was a kind of better quality, more respectable brand, but over time, as I've used more and more of the equipment and tried different models, I'm fully redacting that opinion, and I really don't think that Holmes made very good fans at all. The cord is polarized, but it's not fused, so this is probably from the early 2000s or very late 90s. The plug is wonderful, but the rest of the fan sure isn't. Wonderful plug. And the plug is just fine. Seems good enough. Okay, it's plugged in now. We're testing at 118.6 volts. Start up on low. We have some stiff bearings here. Oh yeah. Let's just start up on high. That's pulling 0.4 amps. I don't think that this is going to consume anywhere near 8 amps. Alright, I think that's going to be our top speed. And wow, that is out of balance. The whole table's vibrating. Wow, that is abysmal. That is horrifically out of balance. That's consuming 0.4 of the amps, 35.2 the watts, and is 0.73 the power factor, which is pretty average in terms of power factor. Curiously enough, it kind of feels like it's pushing air out through the entirety of the guard, but I really don't think so that it is. How could it be? Yeah, it's not. Actually, it's drawing air in. So what a stinking aerodynamic mess this thing is. It's actually pulling air in on the outside from the front, which is probably creating a lot of that turbulent noise. And it looks like it's not actually pushing any air out until we get 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 5 rows in, which is almost halfway. Now right in the center, it's actually not bad. And for a 7-inch blade, it's moving a pretty reasonable amount of air. And from a distance, you know what? Actually, it's not that bad. I'm standing about maybe 6 feet away from it, and I can still feel a noticeable breeze. For 0.4 amps, it's pathetic, and for the noise, it's ridiculous, but it's actually moving a satisfactory amount of air. I'm very surprised. And I'm only saying that, you know, I'm saying that having started the video and initially looking at this with extremely low expectations. By no means would I would consider this to be a great fan, but expecting pretty much nothing out of it. It's delivering something which isn't that bad. I think the Duracraft 10-inch box fans are much better, but this isn't useless. Now, the aerodynamics is horrible. I bet this blade in a free air scenario would make about 1/4 of the noises it's making now. Just a bad design. I just don't understand what Holmes was thinking. Some of the people over there just made terrible decisions during this era. Well, let's try the low. Not a big change in performance, although it did take some of the noise away. Very little change in airflow. That's 0.29 the amps, 26.4 the watts, with a power factor of 0.75 the power factor. Across the room here. Yeah, I can still feel a decent amount of air. There's very little difference in performance between low and high. It's just mostly more noise or less noise. Well, I have to say, it's a lot better than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to just be a total useless noise machine. It's a noise machine by all means, but it moves a satisfactory amount of air for a little personal fan, I suppose. There's definitely better 10-inch box fans, but this is not as much of a fail as I thought it was going to be. It's horrifically out of balance. The size of the blade is just so ridiculous, considering how much wasted space there is inside that cabinet.